This week, we're hammering PlayStation. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is a man who has no fucking clue who the Rizzler is. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, say it ain't so.
Would you be shocked to hear that I watched a clip from the late night show with the Rizzler on it today?
That would not surprise me at all.
Really? Because it
No.
surprised the fuck out of me.
And you went, who the fuck is the Rizzler?
Yeah. It was like some 6-year-old.
Yeah, yep.
I didn't gather anything from it. It was one of those things that like came up on my YouTube feed, and my YouTube feed has been very strange recently. Like yesterday, I watched a 40-minute review of an inflatable nightclub that you can buy on Amazon, and I sent it to my wife, and she's like, "Why did you send this to me?" And I said, "I don't know. It came up on my YouTube feed, so now you have to see it too."
And then you explained to her that a lot of weird stuff had been showing up on your YouTube feed, and then you explained to her how a different item was marketed to you, I'm assuming? Or is that it?
Possibly.
Oh. It would have been really funny if you would have kept the line going. Just like, so then I sent this to my brother, and then... But
Yeah,
no,
I
sorry,
guess.
continue.
For somebody who pays for YouTube Premium, I sure do get a lot of not ads, but still ads.
Sure, I mean, you're, looking up like product reviews and stuff like that, yeah.
Sure, but I'm watching product reviews for products that I'm never gonna buy.
Like an inflatable nightclub, or is that still on the table?
Well, like it might still be on the table. Like we have in our Spotify, we have like a shared like club playlist. You know, just in case we ever want to get crazy and like listen to club music until 8 p.m. before we go to bed.
What's the name of the playlist?
It's called Das Klub Heiner with a lot of umlauts, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Sure.
We were going for like the freaky German sex club vibe.
Yeah, like a German discotheque.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So inflatables kind of fits the vibe here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is terrible. Wrap it up.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I could watch about 5 seconds of it before I turned it off because it also had some guy who apparently just makes TikToks of him flexing his biceps and saying "boom" every time he does it.
Yeah, the Costco boys.
Is that what they are?
Yes, I think so.
I've never seen them in my Costco.
I think they do. I don't know if they just. I really don't know. I really don't know. People seem to enjoy them. People seem to enjoy the content. Some might call it wholesome. But you know, keep in mind, people liked Mr. Beast, and then he made moldy Lunchables. So I mean,
yeah.
Do you know about that?
Feed to the people on the show. I did see that.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I gotta keep my finger on the pulse so I can keep my finger on you. You know, the transitive property of pulse keeping and whatnot.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You're what keeps me alive.
I need to make sure you know about all the milkshake ducks out there.
Yeah.
So,
honk honk.
Honk honk. What games did you play this week? What'd you get up to?
We played some Mario Party. Brought some Mario Party over to the in-laws.
Okay.
And, with 6 Joy-Cons. Breaking news, can't use 6 Joy-Cons.
Ah.
Yeah, so that was sad. So I watched, which was fine. It seems like almost everyone enjoyed it. What else? Had another wild card this week, but I cannot remember what it was.
Wild card football?
No, but I did download that.
Yes, and
no butt.
uh, this is our worst.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't think I really played a whole lot of anything this week. I know we played Mario Party. Um, we stayed up till like 1:30 playing Mario Party one day this week. One
Really?
day on the weekend. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we I think it was Saturday night. I we didn't make any plans for the day. Both of us were exhausted, so we basically just like slept all day. And then at night we had potato chips and prosecco for dinner, which goated combo if you ever get into that world.
It sounds fantastic.
It's very good. And you don't even need like the beauty of it is since you're eating potato chips, you don't even need like expensive prosecco.
You just need expensive potato chips.
Yeah, exactly. So we bought kettle chips. So that was great. And yeah, we stayed up till 1:30 playing Mario Kart. Not Mario Kart, Mario Party.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Felt like a kid again.
So you've played a lot more Mario Party than me now at this point.
I've played much Mario Party.
Huh?
I said I've played much Mario Party.
Well, I'm talking specifically about this new one.
Yes.
But yeah, like anything like you want to call out about it. I mean, I know we talked about it for a good like probably 15 minutes or something last week, but that was also more so just talking about how much we fucking love Mario Party. So yeah, I would just love to like hear more of your impression of it overall. Like, where does it stack up in terms of like, overall Mario Party? Now that you've gotten to play a good bit more.
I'm incredibly biased, so it's probably like 5th or 6th in my all-time list.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it'll ever eclipse 1 through 4.
Okay.
And I really liked Mario Party 5, but I did not play much of it in my life. So I don't know. I mean, it's definitely like right behind those. It feels like old Mario Party
Sure.
for like the first time in forever. And there is like fresh stuff. Like there's a lot of single player modes, which I thought was interesting. Like a lot of single player modes. But the mini games are a lot of fun. Like even the motion games, which we've gotten a lot of those so far. Like those are fun. They're not like too advanced. Like we were able to teach my mother and my father-in-law how to play them, and they were like winning motion games against Justine and her brother. So that was nice. It felt like before the Wii got too complex.
Yeah.
We did find out, which I texted you, but we had mentioned on the podcast before that we thought it was all new games.
Yeah.
They do have old games. We've gotten one so far, three throw from Mario Party 4.
Great minigame.
Was on it. Fantastic minigame.
Phenomenal minigame.
Among the best, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one that sticks out top of mind when I think of a Mario Party minigame. That and the Dinger Derby.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'm kind of hoping, and now my hopes are like super high, that do you remember Domination from Mario Party 4?
What was it? Like what was
It was like the supreme button mashing game where like you were hitting a button with a hammer and then the
yeah, and the thwomps or the womps or the
yeah, whatever they're called. I can never remember what they are.
They all fell like dominoes. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember
I think it would
that
be
one.
sick if they put that game in it, but with the motion control.
Oh my god, so you had to actually hammer?
Yeah.
Oh my god. That'd be great. I
don't know.
I would be the best at this. I just want to call it out right now.
There's a good reason for that.
Yeah, there absolutely is. There absolutely is.
I would be better off if it were still button mashing. my thumb strength compared to like my elbow and forearm
Yeah, there's a
strength.
good reason for that.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're working with smaller tools, I mean, different muscles to work.
Oh god. Yeah, I love all of those button mash games. There was one that I know it's from an older one, but it was on the it was on one of the Switch Mario parties. And it's like the those like the tall caterpillar type things, you know, from like the sand
And
levels, and you have to like mash them from like the bottom, and then they like keeps dropping until you like hit the head, and then like
that
that's
was
how you
Mario
win.
Party 4.
Was it Mario Party 4?
Yeah, originally at least.
There you go.
That
So
was a good game.
that's also a great mini game. Like all those types. Um, I mean, I know there's plenty others, but like, um, yes, specifically, what'd you say it was called? Domination. Those
Yeah.
ones where you like had to like set like a full on record, and like because the one where you're knocking down the caterpillar or whatever it's called is like just time, so like it's just the fastest to do it. But the ones where you get to like see the extension of like the map and see like how far out it goes, so
Hmm.
something so satisfying about those two.
Yeah. I love that game. Well, probably I mean, I guess now that I know there is like a mini game mode, but I think you
Mm-hmm.
can only play the ones that you've gotten so far, which is also awesome. Because I think in like the past couple Mario parties that I've played, you can just like play them all right away.
Yeah, and this like forces you to like play through some like party mode and unlock them.
Right.
That's pretty nice. It's pretty satisfying.
Yeah. Um Speaking of unlocking, I think last time we talked, and I don't want to like say too much since it's still like a pretty fresh game, but I had mentioned that it seemed like there were like it looked like they were building maps on the level select.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm talking about? I
Yeah.
now know what goes there.
Is it
So
additional maps?
it is.
Oh ho.
Yeah. Um but they're not DLC.
Nice.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool.
They did that with the first one on the Switch too, where it was like once you played through the first four, like the starting four maps, you unlocked a fifth one.
Oh, really?
If I remember correctly, yeah. Which the first one on the Switch had like the buddy mode too, where it was like 2v2.
Mm.
And so you technically got like all the maps had a 1-to-1 to each mode, but you had to play through all four in like the buddy mode to get the fifth one unlocked there as well. So like something satisfying about like progression and unlocking and stuff like that.
Yeah, this one is like you get points for everything you do. So like you play a Mario Party map and you do like certain things. You get points for completion,
Yeah.
and then you can kind of level up as you go. But you also get them for doing like the other mini games. Like we unlocked a level by doing there's like a toy factory mode,
Okay.
and it's really cool. It's like a cooperative motion control game. Um, with a bunch of different mechanics, and that was a lot of fun. That's what we spent. I think we went through all those in a night, and that's what we spent a lot of time doing when we stayed up late the one night. But
Hell yeah.
we unlocked it technically doing that, but that's not the only way you could have done it. So that's cool. Yeah. So great game so far. I love it. Reminds me of old Mario Party.
It's a fantastic endorsement. Truly. Anything else? Just Mario Party?
I really think that was primarily what we played this week.
I managed to blue ball myself.
Nice.
You remember during the most recent Switch event, or maybe it was the second most recent, there was a game that was shown off. It was called Peglin, and I was like, oh my god, this game's going to be awesome. It's like a roguelite, one of the two, but it's Peggle
Mm-hmm.
mechanics, right? Well, I came to find out that it's on the iPhone while it's on mobile as well. and it was like free on the App Store. So I was like, no way.
Wow.
So I downloaded it. I started playing it, and I got through the first like area, and it was like upgrade to play the rest.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I was so
Way to go.
mad. I turned off my phone and went to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. No, it was late at night, but yeah, I was just very mad, and I was just like, well, now I don't know. Now I don't know what to do with myself.
One of those guys that won't pay for mobile games.
No, not normally. If I'm gonna get it, I'll probably get it on the Switch.
Ah,
Like I,
makes sense.
I'd rather. I mean, it was fine on mobile, but like, it's a little tough with like sliding your finger around to aim, and you know how that goes. You know, you kind of like last second accidentally like catch the screen, and it like shoots off
Mm.
way too far in not the direction you wanted. So yeah, but I was like so excited to just like so disappointed so quickly. It's very upsetting.
That's fair.
Um, and then I've been playing a decent bit of Dragon's Dogma, the original. Wow, the first Dragon's Dogma, but it's like I don't know if it was remastered necessarily or just kind of like ported to the PS4 and then like also included like the DLC and stuff. That game's a lot of fun. I know a lot of people had raved about Dragon's Dogma 2 when that came out. And I think that game looks really good, but I was happy to try and have the opportunity to like play through the first one a little bit and get like more of an idea of like what the game's actually like. Um, it's a lot of fun. It's like Skyrim in some ways. It's like a middle ground between like Skyrim and Baldur's Gate, honestly.
Yeah.
Is how I would like kind of try and describe it because it does really just kind of fit into its own little spot. And I imagine this is how the Dragon Age games are, but I will admit that I'm not super familiar with them, so I don't want to like necessarily draw that comparison. But if memory serves, I think it's like Dragon Age, which I believe falls kind of in this like in between of like Skyrim and Baldur's Gate. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's just like a massive world and fantasy setting, so something that you wouldn't enjoy whatsoever. But
I was gonna say that sounds terrible. But
but I've been really enjoying it.
good.
You know what I'm not enjoying? This is a
Uh,
segue.
the fact that you haven't started recording this yet.
Oh my god, could you imagine?
Yeah.
My heart sank. And I don't know how you would know, but goddamn. Whew.
Intonation.
Oh no, those 18 minutes of gold. Whatever will we do? No,
I wish this would have.
I can't believe they still released this. Um,
Listen, we're both sick and tired.
yeah, like literally, right? Um,
Yeah.
but also, I'm sick and tired of PlayStation. That's right.
Yeah. That's a good segue.
That's right. We're going for the jugular here.
Remember how we said we didn't want to talk about Xbox this week? Well, we're doing the next best thing.
Bang bang.
Shitting on PlayStation.
Yeah, I'm not one to I'm not one to subscribe to. I feel like people like to say there's like a media bias towards Xbox. I don't know if I subscribe to that. However, I will say that I feel like we personally have done a fairly good job of being, for the most part, critical of both. But I think it's time to be a lot more critical of PlayStation, especially in lieu of today's news. We're recording this on Tuesday. Today's news that Firewalk Studios, the makers of Concord, have officially been shuttered and shut down. And I know that, a specific group of gamers will have you believe Concord failed for a myriad of reasons, but what it really comes down to is leadership not understanding, um, you know, that a game like Concord is just not going to work today. It's not going to work for the price point that they were trying to do. Um, and I just don't think the style of game, right? Like they were effectively trying to make an Overwatch, and I think getting into any sort of like online shooter space is going to be incredibly difficult given the options. I know there's not necessarily a ton of like really good. I guess I know there's not a lot of options when it comes to hero shooters. But that being said, I think they're the ones that people are already going to be like aligned to, and then what's going to cause them to want to jump ship at that point? Like it's a really tough space to do. Um and I just find it really really frustrating that um they spent all this time, all these years on this game to give it a 2-week runway, I think. And then to pull the game offline, they said they explored options for like what they could do for the game. And then ultimately, what? It's just going to be a tax write off. Um, and I think any number of people will want to, blame Firewalk and blame the people who, specifically made the game. But again, I can't help but feel like the finger pointing needs to absolutely start at the leadership level and at the top for not stopping this sooner um, than what they did.
Yeah, I mean, think about the decision making process here. You, like you said, you give this game 2 weeks to try to do anything, and the gaming world is weird. It
Mm-hmm.
takes one person to say like, "Hey, this game's actually decent," and maybe you have 3, 4, 5 months of success, and it kind of dies down a little bit, but you get kind of like your dedicated fan base, people that are going to play it. Like, I don't know. To me, it just feels like there was such an absence of understanding the market here, which is shocking because it's this business has been around, for a long time. But just to come out with this game that nobody wanted, that people had, from what I had seen, had said that nobody wanted, because there's already other hero shooters, and like you said, like people are already aligned to that.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially now where you have like esports and you have colleges that have teams for these things, like it's going to be hard for them to build a team for Concord when they already have an Overwatch team, or they already have what's another big hero shooter right now?
Is Valorant a hero shooter?
Valorant. Yeah, yep. And I know that universities do have Valorant teams. Like,
Right. Like when it comes to competitive spaces, right? Like you have CS:GO, you have League of Legends, you have Valorant, you have Overwatch. It's like, eh. And when you have such like large competitive leagues around them, I mean, good luck.
yeah, yeah. And it's just, you know, and then to take it out on the members of the studio, which this was an acquisition, a 2023 acquisition. You took this game that they had already started working on. You don't help them with the market research. You nuke the game. You nuke the team to, I guess, basically just trim fat at that point.
Right. I mean, yeah, just an all timer.
Yeah.
Like, and again, like I really I do feel for the the people who actually spent the time on this fucking game, because I'm all for people like chasing whatever passion projects they have and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
But to be acquired, right? Like again, at that point, it's like this all solely then rests on PlayStation, in my opinion. Like it's one thing to be like super passionate about a game. You do everything yourself, you take it to market and it does poorly or it does fantastic, right? And it's like I can't knock you one way or the other, but once it goes to the way of like you get uh you make the decision as PlayStation to like buy up this game and don't have like the the willingness to be like tough and like say like yeah, no, we got to scrap this. Like or to buy it in 2023 because you think it's a good idea. It's like what are you doing?
So
The
this is. Go ahead. Sorry.
the first time we saw this, right? And we saw that they were making this game. I believe we both said, "What are they doing?"
Yeah.
Like there's no shot that this game is going to do well. There's just no way whatsoever. And it's like this could have been it has nothing to do with like well PlayStation doesn't normally make multiplayer games. Like that has nothing to do with it. It literally has everything to do with there's just no space to try and get in. It doesn't matter. You could be so incredibly different than Call of Duty, right? But if it even remotely smells like Call of Duty, it's just not going to work. It's not going you're not like if you need to rely on people who play Call of Duty to now come and play your game, it's not going to happen, right? It doesn't matter if it's like completely different and it's going to change people's lives and stuff like that because nobody's going to jump ship to begin with. And the people who do aren't going to be enough to sustain.
So Firewalk has an interesting tweet from 2:15, assuming that's Eastern time, on today, October 29th. And it's long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. But definitely recommend checking it out. And they just kind of walked through like what their experience was, and it sounds almost like I don't know, like they were steered, and I don't want to put like weird words or thoughts into the former company's mouth, but like it seemed like they were super focused on building a new let me see exactly what they said. A new FPS engine in Unreal 4 and then 5. Like this almost felt like a technical demo that they were working on. And
Mm-hmm.
considering that this team was founded in 2018 and they went into full production in 2022, and then they were acquired in 2023, like it feels to me like they wanted to build this technical preview of a game. Um for what like I don't know. I'm trying to think of another example. But like a technical preview for a game will come out and it'll be fine. But like you'll know it's a technical preview. And then, that engine will be or the technology will be used to build like a full product a
Yeah.
couple of years later. You
You
know what I mean?
release the bones, you see how it goes,
Right. You
and
let
then you
people get their
take that
hands on it,
information. Yep, 100%.
which like makes sense. Like and they highlight in this tweet that like they knew that they were entering and these are their words, a heavily consolidated market. But if you can put a kind of a tech demo in front of that crowd that's altogether different or improved from what's currently out there, because think about how old some of these games are. Like Overwatch, the first Overwatch came out over 10 years ago, right? Approximately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably been a decade or
And
thereabouts.
from what I've been able to tell from my limited experience, seeing Overwatch is that it hasn't like fundamentally changed. And like if it's not broke, don't fix it. But that's what teams like this do.
Right.
They're able to take the risk and say, okay, no, it's not broken, but can it be better? And it just seems like Sony saw that they were working on this, and it must have been impressive if, a year into production, Sony decided to acquire them. But instead of treating it like this technical demo, they're like, this is a product. We can sell this.
Yeah.
Especially like that's even a stranger decision knowing that most of these hero shooters are free with in-game purchases or like incredibly cheap. Not that, it's $40, so, considerably different than a $70,
Sure.
AAA game, but I don't know. Definitely recommend looking at this tweet and just kind of like thinking about what transpired. Because I don't think I really want to blame Firewalk a ton for this.
No, not at all.
I think that, they had a vision and a good vision, and they must have been coming up with some sort of really good piece of tech, and just they saw funding, they took it, and unfortunately, like, I don't know if there was just too much power coming from the funding, like if they had to trade too much power to get the funding, I don't know. But just a bad trend I think that we are seeing or were seeing with Sony, and I this kind of reeks of Jim Ryan, but
Yeah. I
the
mean,
acquisition would have been near the end of his time, right?
yeah. I mean, ultimately, that's where I land in all this is just like if the release of the game and like and continuing to move forward with it and the release of it and then giving it only 2 weeks and then walking it back and then so on and so forth. Every single thing that Sony has done around this, that PlayStation has done, this was like the straw that broke the camel's back for me and like set me into a blind rage because it's just one just like shit move after another,
Hmm.
and it's just like it really does make me so angry. That like you're saying, it's like we're walking into like this pattern with PlayStation where they're making these like head scratching moves and just not understanding, what it is that they need to deliver on to be successful.
Hmm.
And it's like for whatever reason, PlayStation's just having this like identity crisis while being the leader, in whatever competition they have with Xbox, right? Like they can stumble, trip, and fall, and people will still buy a PS5. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they can't do any wrong. It's insane. And then they just like continuously, again, like the only way to sum it up is like have an identity crisis. Like just keep fucking making your good single player story experiences. Like it's what people keep saying that they want from you. And then all they give us is a remaster. And oh no, we're going to try and make live service games. And it's like, you don't need to do that. Like other people, other companies are going to work on those things,
Hmm.
are going to make uh, live service games that fit into what people want. Um, and it's so funny because I think my biggest realization is that I think people as a whole, but specifically within the gaming sphere, people are, for the most part, very adverse to change. Right? Like on the maybe like high level, you could say like, look at how people react to price increases, right?
Yeah. Or
Um,
the guy who bought, what did I see?
uh
24 years of PlayStation Plus or something.
oh.
That
Yes.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody was like, "Don't fucking do that." Oh my god. Yeah, that was funny. Um, but no, even on to like the granular level, right? Where like when it comes to games, like you said, Overwatch has been out for how long? And anybody who likes Overwatch is probably fine still playing Overwatch, right?
Hmm.
I think a lot of people when Overwatch 2 got announced were kind of just like, no, don't do that, And, Activision Blizzard said, we're going to keep moving forward on this. And they did. But, um, yeah, genuinely, I think the gaming culture as a whole, and it's people in general, but, you know, we're all adverse to change. And for whatever reason, Sony's like yeah, but we're gonna change. We're gonna try and become this new thing. It's like, don't do that. Just
Yeah.
just you in so many ways. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? But in the most obvious ways too, right? Like you have your bread and butter um experiences, and just continuously I feel like nobody else is really seeing it and calling attention to it, but I feel like PlayStation is continuously getting more and more watered down when it comes to the things that they, used to do uh extremely well. And I still think that I still think like Spider-Man 2, right, was phenomenal. And I haven't played God of War Ragnarok yet, but I have played the 2018 God of War and, The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. And I think these are all fantastic games and they still are like, this is the true PlayStation DNA. But I can also look at it and be like, we're getting another remaster. This time it's Horizon, which a series that has like performed really well in terms of sales and stuff. Yet I feel like nobody talks about, simply because I guess there's always something that comes out right around it that makes us forget about it. But it's also a game that didn't need to be remastered.
Right.
And Spider-Man 2 is not getting any DLC, which in some ways I think DLC is kind of can be a negative. It can feel like, why didn't you just have this in the base game? But I genuinely felt like the Spider-Man DLCs were all pretty solid and like helped to like give like fun different stories that were very contained and like might have been a little difficult to try and like force into the main game. But Spider-Man 2 is not getting anything else. It's done. Like it is the game that is out now. Um which is fine, but like again, like it's just it feels like watered down, and
Mhm.
we're seeing it in all different spaces. And again, this move with like live service and the absolute fumble on their part with Concord has me completely worried about um the other the other live service games that they're going to end up trying to do. It's just not great.
So I'm going to be optimistic about this, I think. Um, and optimism is a hard word to use here because I do think that an era of PlayStation died when Jim Ryan left. And I'm not blaming him for all of the woes of PlayStation right now, but I do think that under his leadership this culture kind of evolved and turned PlayStation into this watered down product like you said. Um that happened under him. And I'm very much so a believer in the woes of a company start at the top. Uh the good news is I think for the PlayStation 6 or whatever, I think it's you could put money on it being called the PlayStation
Yeah, you
6.
can definitely write that in pen.
Um I think we're going to see a return of Sony as it was, of PlayStation as it was. Um I think Sony is taking a good amount of time trying to figure out exactly what they want their leadership structure to look like. And I think we're going to see a bit of consolidation until the next generation. Um, I think it's net good. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be bad for developers. I think a lot of these live service games that are in the works, you know, I think they'll probably get canned preemptively. Teams will be cut. Because I'm sure that this Concord thing is going to put a lot of fear into the heads of PlayStation. And, I think they'll take a look at what product should they actually make versus like what do they think needs to be made,
Yeah.
perhaps a little better market research. Uh, that's all the bad parts of this, but I think it's net good. And it's kind of a good opportunity to do it because you have Wolverine coming out, hopefully. Um, you have, I mean, I hope they're not a victim of it, but you've got Haven Studios game hopefully coming out. I don't really know what that game's going to be yet. I don't know if it's going to fall into this realm of things that are going to get cut, but I hope they at least let that game launch before they make that decision. What other Sony exclusives are coming out in the next 12 months?
Ghost of Yotai.
Ghost of Yotai, that's going to be a massive game. So I think there's enough good things coming forward to take the sting out of the consolidation that I think we're going to see, and that again, trying to be mindful of the words I use, but that I think is necessary to make Sony better than it is now, and at least reminiscent of what it was.
I hope you're right.
Did they assign like a permanent leader of PlayStation yet, or is it still it was like a CFO at Sony or something, right?
Yeah, I think it's a combination, right? I think it's
Hurst and
Hurst and oh god, I can't remember. But I don't think they've done a
yeah.
like a full.
Hideki Nishino and Hellman Hurst. So they're co-CEOs currently.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Herman Holst anymore either. I think he's made some questionable decisions as the head of studios, namely closing SIE Japan, which is just weird.
Yeah.
But
I'm just trying to I've been trying to take this time to look back to kind of try and help showcase um it's too much for me to count and to completely dive into. But I know I've brought this up recently too, right? Where it's um and this is on the industry as a whole, but games are now also just taking way too long and are costing way too much to even make. That I think that's just killing a lot of momentum in a lot of situations, and has helped to cause this feeling of you know not having the PlayStation of old, right? Um cuz I mean, if you look at Insomniac, they released a Ratchet and Clank a year basically for
yeah,
the
and
longest time.
and now they have Spider-Man and Wolverine, which
Yeah, they're still kind of killing it, huh?
yeah.
Um
But I think they're an exception of a studio that can put out phenomenal pieces at the frequency that they do.
yeah. Truly a last beacon of what used to be. I mean, the Uncharted trilogy probably came out, every 2 years maybe, right?
Something like that,
And then
yeah.
and then look at how long it took to get it. Probably ballooned to every 4 years between The Last of Us, Uncharted 4, Last of Us 2. I know we did get an additional Uncharted in there. But yeah, I don't know. I think that also just kind of goes into it a little bit. It feels like at what point are we like satisfied with the visuals of the games that how much more can we really pump into these games
Yeah.
before it's like a lost cause, and to me it almost feels like we've already gone over that edge. But I don't know, but I hope you're right. I hope like this these past couple of years have just needed to be, and now going forward are going to act as a bit of a reset. But god damn if it isn't frustrating to kind of just watch it all happen in the moment. And
Mhm.
it's like so many head scratchers, right? uh and I again, I feel like not enough people are like truly realizing how many are stacking up at this point. Again, not trying to say there's any sort of bias or anything, but that's just what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. You know, you and I have basically been around PlayStation our entire lives.
And I mean, I'm still
And
a huge PlayStation fan, by the way. Like
yeah,
no regrets whatsoever on having a PS5, and when the PlayStation 6 is announced, I'll get it and like all that.
yeah. And I still fully intend on getting PlayStation 5 at some point. Unless I just decide to wait for PlayStation 6,
But
since I
yeah,
know that all the games on PlayStation 5 are going to be there anyway.
bro,
Um,
literally.
uh, yeah, it's just it's one of those things that's hard to watch when you think about the few like products that have been in your life forever. You get to watch what's happened over time, and you kind of just see it in a state, and you just get a sense for what should and shouldn't be. And obviously, that's all objective, but I think a lot of people would agree.
So what is next for PlayStation?
I mean, like I said, I hope it's again hope weird word. I I think for the sake of PlayStation, there should be a little period of consolidation to clean up from the late Jim Ryan era.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and hopefully they just listen. I mean, that's all they have to do is just listen, and it feels like that's not what they're doing.
A lot of people were posting the like graph of like it's fucking over. We're so back. It's over. We're so back, right?
Mm.
And I mean, that has been the year for PlayStation because like if we started the year at it's so over because, you know, not to lean into PlayStation has no games, but uh, this overall console generation in so many ways is, if to put a word to it, unnecessary, borderline unnecessary, right? In so
Mhm.
many ways, right? So if you're starting the year at it's so over, Helldivers 2 comes out, and man, what a success. So rocket it up. We're so back. And then Concord happened, and it's over. And then Astrobot happened, and we're back, right? And it's like hopefully they can look at these peaks and valleys of things and see what has worked and what hasn't, and be hypercritical about things moving forward and be smart about things moving forward, because there's still room to try and provide a multiplayer experience, right?
Mhm.
There's I mean, people still were itching for the Last of Us factions game, and then that got scrapped. And that's something that probably had a ton of momentum, right? But maybe the right move was scrapping it. I don't know, right? Like you look at Star Wars Outlaws, and you think it's a no-brainer that's going to be a bona fide success because you're tying Star Wars to the name, and
Mhm.
it fell a little flat for Ubisoft. Um it didn't meet
Unfortunately,
expectations. Yeah.
still a great game, I think,
Right.
personal opinion. But
And
I also apparently have shitty taste in games.
no, not at all. Um it's just that just because a name is tied to something doesn't make it automatic. For I mean, for whatever reason,
Sure.
Ubisoft 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, 10 years ago. We'll say 10 years ago. If they release a Star Wars game, that's going to be one of the best selling games of the year and probably of the decade.
Oh yeah, with like mechanics that are similar to Splinter Cell or like
Yeah,
Ghost Recon.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
But I think people are run down with Ubisoft. So it's not
Yeah.
surprising that somebody sees a new Ubisoft game and says, I'll wait until it's on sale for 50% off, like I've done with Assassin's Creed for the past 3 releases.
Mhm.
You know, not that any of the Assassin's Creeds I've played have been bad, right? But like, I don't need to spend $60 because I know what I'm getting.
Right.
So again, tying The Last of Us, which was is probably still like one of their Mount Rushmorean IPs. And you have the show and all that to work off of. Um, Releasing this factions game would have been like absolutely 100% a success, but also maybe not. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think like you're saying, hopefully they listen to what people are saying and what the results have been of these games that they have a bit of a return to form.
Do you ever just like kind of wish this generation didn't happen?
Dude, yeah, I mean, in some ways, yes. In
It's like it's just very weird because like this weekend I had my I turned the PS4 on because I was getting like all of our VR games updated because we were thinking about having like a VR night, which we
uh-huh.
still do relatively frequently. And just like turning the PS4 on, like the home screen, the games that I have on there, like I'm actually excited to like be on that console. Whereas like when I signed into my Xbox, I'm like, okay, it's just a means to an end. Like I'm sure I'd be the same way with the PS5. Just the PS4 era was just so amazing. And I kind of just wish that we had like 10 more years of that. I wish they would just scrap the PS5, scrap the Series X, maybe done like one more hardware upgrade, but still kept it the PS4.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in no way. I think where I kind of like land is like I'm in no way eager for whatever this next generation, right? We're already talking about like the next generation and stuff, and it's just like I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think that it's a possibility because every game that I play on my PS5, I can play it's on PS4. Right? Like there's so few games that are like must play experiences and you can only play it on PS5.
Right. It sucks. That's the reason, but it's the reason I'm going to get a PS5 eventually is because I want to play Spider-Man 2.
Right.
Like,
But
if that were on PS4, I would be perfectly happy
yeah,
playing it on there. I just played Miles Morales on there in the past year, and it was great.
fantastic game. Fantastic
Yeah,
game.
and
Really
it played fine in 2023
on your
on a
PS4.
PS4 on an original PS4. Like,
And I mean, don't get me wrong, like there are definitely things that I know I am forgetting that sucked about the PS4, like the fact that when I turned it on, it sounded like an airplane was about to land in my fucking living room. And then
but that was
two,
like an age thing.
yeah.
Like mine doesn't do that.
Wait, yours doesn't do that?
No, mine's not loud at all. The
Why the
only issue that my PS4 ever got is that sometimes the discs just randomly eject.
Oh yeah, mine does that too.
And I found out that it's like that rubber tab that's
Yep,
supposed to be like a foot. You pull that out and it's fine.
on the
For
bottom.
some reason, it has something to do with like the plastic expanding over time. Yeah, you just pull that out and it's fine. But yeah, no, mine's quiet.
Huh. Must be nice. Um, loading times. Loading times are the other thing that I know definitely I would miss and that I
Yeah.
really do enjoy about this like current generation. But my biggest hang up is the fact that, and again, I know there are certain games that are PS5 only, but a large majority of the games that I am playing are not.
Hmm.
And that bums me out, makes me slightly annoyed, makes me question how worth it is. Anyway,
Well, we
so yeah,
talked about this longer than I thought we were going to.
yeah. Well,
It tends to happen.
when you get a little riled up about something that you care so much about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I'm so tired. All right, well, I guess that'll do. Unless there's anything else you wanted to say specifically about PlayStation.
Nope.
Um, Nintendo, please, for the love of God. We had nothing to talk about today until Mason Sherbert broke the news. So Nintendo, if you could please talk and release Switch 2 uh, details that are concrete and not from like 4chan, that'd be greatly appreciated. Because everybody has an uncle who worked at Nintendo, but I'd rather just hear it from Nintendo. But that'll do it for this week's episode. Let us know what you think PlayStation. Maybe there's stuff that we're missing. Maybe PlayStation's still doing a lot of things really great, and you want to call those things out by all means. But if you have some gripes, let this be your sounding board to get some stuff off your chest about PlayStation. As always, thank you all so much for listening. If you could leave us a rating or a review wherever you do listen to the podcast, that would be greatly appreciated. And best thing for you to also do would be to share the podcast with a friend. And we will talk to you next week.